everybody. It's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. And we are doing the sequel to the Addams Family movie
What's
from
another way?
last year.
What's another way of saying that, Safi? How do you say that like a normal person would say it?
I don't know what you mean, but
Today we are reviewing the Addams Family 2.
well, Addams Family 2, sequel to the Addams
Isn't that a lot
Family.
simpler?
Well, I'm just going to say sequel because it wasn't a live action movie. It was animated, but not like Beauty and the Beast or something like that. It was
Well,
the other kind.
well,
But
the live action sequels didn't have any numbers attached to them. They
they
were
were
just called
entitled
they
other
were just
things.
called the Addams Family Values and the Addams Family Reunion.
Uh,
And so they're not, you don't have to worry about confusion with those.
no. Okay, well, I'm just going to give you my initial reaction. I I was about ready to puke because it was they threw everything into it but the kitchen sink, and I was having trouble. I didn't know if I was even going to be able to finish it. I had to force myself to finish the movie, and of course at the last part, maybe the last I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even less, I felt that it was better. It got better, but and it was more exciting and more action.
I bet you did.
But the other part of the movie, the first 2/3 of it, I was just, especially in the first hour, I was thinking like, if I was a young mother, which I used to be, or maybe I was an old mother, like I used to be, with young children, I went to each kid had different sets of things they liked, and I went to those movies. I went to the library. I checked out movies. I checked out books. And I really got into it. Like, I memorized the Power Rangers song, for example. And we watched Goosebumps all the time. And, all these things. And I had fun, even though, I wasn't really, if I was an adult, probably wouldn't really be interested. And I think I am a grandmother. And I do have a 5-year-old granddaughter, and I'm thinking, what? I don't know if I could even take her to see anything because I just can't stand
No.
what they do now. And I don't know if it's because, and I know other people who are grandparents.
I would just take her to re-releases of old movies, like
Yeah,
how they had, of course, we missed the first one. How they're having the old Universal monster movies playing at the theater.
yeah.
That would be perfect to take a kid to, so that they can have that experience.
But and I'm thinking I'm terrible. Maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me. And I'm just thinking, I
No.
don't think so because I'm looking at things more critically now. And even if I wasn't, it was just so overdone. It just destroyed the characters. I mean, it was like they had been buried in a big pile of dust and dirt and with sparkles on them or something, or maybe with Christmas lights. If you just buried them all and you couldn't even see the people because it was just too much. And why did they do that? And the music, you know, when they did the show, which I watched as a kid, um, it was about opera and violin, and and I know that they have to update things, but they overdid. And Marco has an opinion about that, but anyway, I'll just say one of I have three threads of the movie, but I want to let Marco go. I'll just mention one. It was kind of like, and he can expand upon this, how this wasn't right, and it was kind of like having a kid who is a teenager, and that was one. This is one thread, and it was Wednesday, and I guess she's the older daughter, but I wasn't really sure in the show it wasn't
No, I
like
think
that.
they're supposed to be the same age.
Well, they can't be. Could they be twins?
They're supposed to be like around the same age.
Well, okay.
Like, I
So, well, they're
just,
it just. I mean, we've seen so many different types of versions, but anyway, I don't want to go on about that. But it's like a teenage daughter. Uh, she's come to this point where she's sick of her parents. They drive her crazy, and it's not really her mother that's driving her crazy as much as her dad, and he's very overbearing and over loving, and that's just one thread. And so, Marco, you can take it from there because I have some other threads that and we can talk about those. But this one was, and how this can't be right.
well, we watched the movie from last year, and I hated the one from last year too, because the first one, it had literally almost the same problems that this one did, because once again, I'll say what I hope I said in the list video. They're trying to use traditional storytelling for untraditional characters, and that is not going to work. When you have untraditional characters like the Addams Family, traditional storytelling will not do. And that's why when we reviewed the Addams Family live action movie, we liked that movie because it was very unconventional, all the way up until the stupid ass part where everyone, they find out that there's a liar and everyone's sad and there's drama. And we hated that part of the movie and we said it's stupid. And that was because that was like a traditional, typical movie type of storyline that you would do in like a stupid family throwaway movie. And that was the worst part of that movie. And these animated movies are literally just that the whole time. It's just the same old stuff that you've already seen before in every other movie. There's nothing interesting at all about this movie. It was disguised as a vacation movie, which really pissed me off because I was actually looking forward to seeing an Addams Family vacation movie, and I thought that ought to be pretty good. That ought to be pretty fun. But no, it's not. It's terrible. It's trash. It's awful. It was written by like 6 people and it shows. And none of those 6 people had really a good idea to begin with. And they really shouldn't have been allowed to write this movie. In fact, they should have just scrapped this whole series because it just was not worth it. I mean, there's not really any point in having an Addams Family animated movie series when you have those incredible live action movies that are like they're untouchable practically. And so but another thing is the movie has agendas in it, and it's just full of bad storylines that like these storylines are just so trash and so they've been done before so many times. And with these characters they started doing some, it was almost like they were going to ruin the mythology, but it was just like a red herring. And the movie was just terrible. I really hated it. It was hard to get through it. It was honestly, this was way worse than Boss Baby 2, and that's saying something. There was really, I mean, there's nothing to like about it except for I liked the actors who played all the Addams Family except for one, which was Snoop Dogg playing Cousin It. I don't know why they cast him to play Cousin It. I don't think that he fits the character at all. I think that, Cousin It, I just, it was so weird. It didn't fit at all. And there was all this rap music in the movie, and there was all this weird, like, trendy modern music, and it really did not work in the movie. And ugh. And oh yeah, and the main issue too is that the first movie was all about Wednesday. All about Wednesday. And guess what the second movie is? It's all about Wednesday, of course, because it's 2021. female empowerment BS. Uh, so, Safi, what do you have to say about the movie?
Well, another one of my threads was that, which it's very interesting because it kind of parallels, but in a better way, uh, the 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 part of the season we just reviewed, season 10 of American Horror Story, where the little girl is a uh, what do you call it? She's a primo violinist, and then she has they didn't temper her, kind of like give her like a normal, I don't know, view of things, and she's too immature because she's young to realize this, that humanity counts and her parents count, and then she ends up getting rid of them.
Oh yeah, do you
And
know all of a sudden Wednesday is a scientist?
well, yeah,
Everyone,
but she could discover
she's a
that.
scientist.
Yeah, but still could discover that's beside that happens. That's not actually unrealistic. But she's like that's he's saying that right, that she discovers that she's really good in science, but not just really good, that she's like a genius. And
Yeah, and
and
what's
her parents and her whole
Pugsley?
family
No.
are they just don't match her intellectual ability. And so that's another part of the problem, where she's coming of age, but she's never aged in this animated series, and neither has her brother
Yeah,
at all. They look exactly the same, and that's not true either. You know what that's like. Anybody's a parent. The children age. They look like they've aged.
they give a rebellious teenage storyline to someone who looks like they're in the fifth grade.
Yeah, and well, she could be a genius in the fifth grade. I've read about that, but still, and
She couldn't be a rebellious teenager.
but
That's what I just said.
she did that. Well, yeah, and so that's part of the problem, and it's not just that it can't happen, that neither one of those things happen. They do happen, but she can't, not with her, because she never ages. So anyway, in fact, at the last one, she actually looked like she aged more in that, just with the little storyline they did where she changed her look. And remember, she was, how dark she is. She wore dark clothes, and then the girl she was hanging out with was a lot more colorful, and
I don't know. I didn't finish the first one because I
well,
hated it so much.
like she had a barrette. She wore like colored barrettes and brightly colored clothes, and so Wednesday started wearing that, and then her friend, who was like the opposite and wore all this colorful stuff, she wore dark gothic stuff and changed her hair, and her mother about had a heart attack. So, and that was like that kind of thinking. I mean, that can go into the, teenage years. Also can start earlier. I've seen that too. Um, but anyway, and so you have this thing where, first of all, she's tired of her parents, her father especially, like she's getting to be a teenager, and he's overbearing and driving her crazy. And then the fact that she thinks she's smarter than the rest of them, like that American Horror Story, where the she's this violin genius, and she's better than the whole family. And
Where do you explain that, Sophie?
well, so anyway, that was my expansion on that thread.
You've already expanded
And
it.
then with this, as she enters this contest at school,
Oh,
it's a science fair, but it has national ramifications, not just an ordinary local within the school science fair. It has national. So if you win, it'd be very good for your future.
Stick to your script, Sophie.
So anyway,
Don't do this.
the guy.
This movie's supposed to be 10 minutes long.
Oh, okay. Well, the contest sponsor get one thing. This other thread is that he gives everybody all the final participants. There's like 4 or 5. He gives them all participation award. In fact, so therefore nobody wins. Because they're all winners. So that makes no sense at all, and it would never happen, ever, ever, ever. Not for a science fair, any kind of intellectual endeavor. And the other thing is the contest sponsor is very interested in what she's doing because he and ultimately just wants to steal her work. And this actually happens in real life. I've seen it.
I know
it's terrible.
It's happened in basically every other science fiction movie too.
So anyway, even though this is a kid
It's
thing,
not original at all.
it's a kid thing. This actually does
Lazy
happen.
as hell.
And also, if you cross, especially in academics, if you cross one of your advisors and they don't like something that you did. So let's say you accuse them of doing that, and you have all the proof. They just, because their reputation is more solid because they've already gotten their credentialing, they can just bury you and destroy your career before it even starts. I've seen that too.
Well, what we haven't talked about with this movie, since you're going to talk about some incoherent ramblings, I'm going to make some incoherent ramblings too, because I thought this was going to be 10 minutes long, and it was supposed to be 10 minutes long, and it's really pissing me off that you're going off script and making this a 3-hour long video. This movie is a feminazi movie, and it really says something that what they do is that they make Wednesday like a genius scientist, and then they make Pugsley like a retarded kid, and they make it to where he falls in love with a girl, and then the girl turns out to be a pig. And it's like, wow, that really says something about agendas and storytelling nowadays. I just finished reviewing another movie where, once again, the issue was that with that movie, the way that they treated the male characters was that they made them look like idiots who couldn't get women, and particularly the overweight men. And that's what they do in this movie, and it's fucking disgusting. And I'm really getting sick and tired of seeing these feminazi movies where the female characters get priority over the male characters, and it's not like an equal thing. They have Cousin Fester, and he's giving tips on how to get girls, and Pugsley follows one of his pieces of advice, and what happens? Well, Wednesday comes over and has a voodoo doll and makes him start breakdancing and humiliates him in front of the girls. And I just thought that was sickening. It's like, that they would never have a scene like that with him doing that to her while she's trying to impress a guy if she wanted to do that. So I just thought this movie's feminazi agendas were so over the top. I wasn't going to mention it, but I decided to anyway.
All right, well, and the last thing was that in order for this contest sponsor to get Wednesday to come there, he makes up this thing and actually managed to change some DNA results saying that they're related, and it was all bogus, and none of them believed it. Her family, the Addams family, they didn't believe it, but then there's always a shred of doubt. But Fester confuses things by saying, well, when she was born, I went to the hospital nursery and I juggled the babies around and threw them all up in the air, and they all kind of landed wherever. And so they thought, oh my God, maybe she isn't really ours. She really does belong to him. And she goes with him under the impression he could be her father. And so that was all bogus, and it was because he just wanted to steal her work. And so that was the other thread. So it gets all cleared up in the end, and Marco wanted to say one more major thing, and he got this from watching the previews to the movie, which I didn't really. I may have watched one once, but I didn't.
She
really
watched one. I think we even did a review of it. Let's check.
No, I think that was of the first one. Because I remember.
think it's of the second one, because I remember.
Well, I don't remember, but it makes a lot more sense. It would have made a lot more sense. We talked about this, but go ahead so they know what we're talking about.
Or are you talking about the vacation aspect?
Yes.
Well, I already talked about that earlier. You know, this movie was advertised entirely as a vacation movie.
Yeah.
I mean, even the poster. If you look at the poster, everyone's in vacation gear, and it says this movie's all about Addams Family going on vacation. And then you watch the movie, and it's actually about Wednesday being a genius scientist. And it's like, who the hell asked for this? Nobody wanted to see this.
And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It just, when you think about that, I mean, they could have made it like the vacation movie with Chevy Chase. That was fun. It was funny, and it was a legitimate story, and it was good. You know, it was funny. They could have done the same thing. And this thing where they wanted, the whole premise of that was that they wanted to, their idea, because at first they didn't know about this guy, and him saying he's her father, but they thought, oh, let's go on vacation, it'll help everything.
It was the first one.
I told you.
Damn it.
See?
That would have been fun.
Marco thinks
I wanted...
he's going to one-up me on every single thing.
I wanted to play it, so it would be really funny if I played it, and then you heard your own voice talking about the second movie's trailer after you said you didn't do it.
Well, we were, last year we did review a lot more trailers.
Yeah,
but we really haven't done that this year.
Because they're a waste of time.
Yeah, and they, that's a whole nother story. But
You could do a whole video about what's a waste of time and what's not with making videos.
But the thing is, they were, and people do this. Say, oh, let's go on a vacation. It'll be a family vacation. We'll have fun. We'll be together. And, you know, yeah, that's been done. But that would have been fun with them and all the kooky things they could have done. And instead it was just,
this
I don't know.
Stupid DNA story one.
And it was like...
it was also basically plagiarizing the first live-action movie, where they had questions that if Uncle Fester was a part of the family or not. Remember?
Yeah.
Plagiarizing.
I had forgotten about that, but I remember that. And that was actually... They did a good job with that in the live-action movie, I thought.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all I have to say. But if it wasn't for the last half an hour, I don't know if I could have... I had to force myself to watch. And when you're... 2/3 of it is crap. Also, I mean, they do the science fair thing where she presents her experiment, and some of the others do a little bit. And, you know, it's really good. Pugsley has jumped into somebody's volcano, and was it because of that? And then something happened, and it plugged it up, and the whole gym was burning down.
It was basically an excuse for, like, an intro with the song, and you'd have everyone on fire, and it was like this big joke. And in reality, you know, there should have been consequences for doing that.
That would not have been a joke. I mean, practically burned school down.
I mean, if you compare it to the live-action movie with Wednesday, where she did a play where she had blood squirting everywhere, you know, there could have been consequences for that too, but that wasn't really like a bad thing at all. But this is like,
this would be destroying property.
This is something you could get arrested for.
Yeah. So, and I know we're all being like, okay, this is Hollywood, right?
No, that's not an excuse.
But anyway, whatever. That's the other thing. But like I said, I just had to. I mean, I felt like I was going to throw up. It was just too much.
Oh, what would you rate this 25-minute review, Safi? I mean,
okay, I rated it with eating an entire bag of Halloween candy, and not a paper bag or a plastic bag, but a pillowcase, which people often do. They'll just take a pillow when you're older, because I've had this experience with my children too. When they're on the early middle school side of trick-or-treating, they bring a pillowcase and they fill it entirely full of candy, because they go into places where they don't have a lot of trick-or-treaters, but they have a ton of candy.
Well, part of it also is that, you know, a lot of the time you'll get a ton of candy that you don't even like. Like, I remember the last time I trick-or-treated, I got all this bubble gum, all this gross double bubble gum, and I threw it all in the trash because it's so gross, and it was stale too.
Oh.
And like you always get candy that you don't like, but when you have a pillowcase, it increases your chances of you can go get more candy than if you brought like a little tiny pail.
And that's really for little kids anyway, those little pails. So,
Like you.
but if you ate, I mean, I'm talking about a pillowcase that's stuffed all the way to the top, where you have just enough room to maybe tie it to close it up, you know. And if you ate a whole thing in one sitting, you'd probably be so sick, you'd be puking for the rest of the night and something else.
Well, that's what you'll be doing when you watch Rob Zombie's Halloween movies.
But I think I've seen at least one.
No, you haven't.
Oh, I think I have.
No.
And you're already wrong once about what I said, so.
I'm serious about this one.
Okay, well, whatever. So that's my review. How about you, Marco? What did you rate it?
Well, one of the other things about this movie is that it was very simple. Even though it had this overly complicated plot, it was very bare and basic. It was a very pointless throwaway movie. That's why I don't like cartoons, because they're just so throwaway and so meaningless and pointless, and it's almost like a form of brainwashing, because you just sit a kid in front of a TV and they just watch meaningless cartoons.
And they could be actually watching good cartoons.
Like
if they
Batman,
and
Animaniacs,
yeah,
the original Looney Tunes.
Yeah, Looney Tunes. I was thinking of.
The ones that are banned, mostly. The ones that they call racist and problematic, quote unquote. They're the good ones.
Well, I didn't even know they had what they called anything that, but whatever. I mean,
they call everything racist.
Okay, well, anyway, they.
Even this review, they'll probably call racist for some reason.
No, there's no racist anything.
There's racism everywhere to these people.
Okay, I don't know who these people are, but
SJWs.
I guess people just looking for
weirdos,
an excuse to disparage other people
on Twitter film reviewers.
Okay, Marco, that's enough now.
Okay, my review for the movie is, as I was saying before Safi rudely interrupted me.
Oh, Lord. It's Monday, can you tell?
My review is 1 cup of lime jello, sugar-free, and it gives you diarrhea, and this movie gives me diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know if you should say that because that it's Jell-O, any kind of sugar-free lime Jell-O.
Why?
Because that's a product name, and you're saying that, and they might get upset.
Well, I can't help that every sugar-free product gives me diarrhea.
Well, that's true. There is a product in some sugar-free stuff that does make you sick, and that was actually in the paper and on the news. So that was few years ago.
I remember getting diarrhea from eating sugar-free Jell-O.
Well, there's some sugar-free candy, and I remember, and chips. They were putting the ingredient in chips, something about like the fat content, but they put this chemical in it, and that did make you sick. And I've had that candy, and it made me sick. Because I forgot about that. I just didn't realize they put it in everything.
Well, just so I can finish this 30-minute review, which shouldn't be, supposed to be 10 minutes. And I'm saying that because we're supposed to do another movie review today.
Okay,
so it's practically impossible now.
No, it's not. Come on. We have to be here at noon because we have to feed the cat a spoonful of special food so he doesn't starve to death.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain my rating and you keep
go
interrupting
ahead.
me. God
Where did you get your rating?
No, I didn't. I didn't explain why I said Jell-O. This movie is a cup for the last fucking time, too. This movie, I'll say whatever the fuck I want.
Marco?
This movie is a cup of lime Jell-O, sugar-free. And I'm not saying that it for sure gives you diarrhea, but it gave me diarrhea one time. And, another thing is that it's just so bare and basic. And it's really just this gross, artificial tasting, like just little tiny thing. And like movies nowadays, they're practically all just these disposable, meaningless, stupid movies that they have no meaning, they have nothing to them, and I'm sick and tired of it. And of course, they have a bunch of agendas, and the agendas would be the artificial sweeteners that gave me diarrhea. And I do like lime jello though, but even if I like it, I prefer to just have like a bowl of jello when I'm sick or something, not like this little tiny cup that you give like people at an old people's home, like, when they make Halloween 78 with Jamie Lee Curtis. She'll probably have some lime jello. So, you have any last words, Safi?
No,
Before you watch Halloween 3?
it's a terror. I'm sad that this wasn't a better movie, because it is Halloween month, and right now I can't think of anything that's out or coming out and I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, it's just too bad they couldn't make this Addams Family series a much better thing, but it's really not, and they really should go back, if they could get the right cast, they should go back to doing live action movies, because those actually were good, and they were a lot better than this, I'll tell you that. So that's it. So everybody, unless Marco has anything final to say, we're going to end here. Please subscribe if you liked our sniping, our Monday morning sniping, and being overly critical, and make comments about what you thought about the movie, or if you even are going to watch it, or why you didn't like it, or why you liked it. If you like this movie, I want to hear why.
I don't.
I really do.
I don't. I've already seen some of the people who said they liked it.
And we actually like new subscribers, so if you want to subscribe, I don't think we'll be this snipey if it's not Monday. Monday seems to bring out the worst in people. I don't know why that is, because the weekend for me is almost the same as the weekdays.
Safi clearly hasn't seen my reviews if she thinks that this is the worst that I've ever been with the movie.
No, well, with me though, sniping means sniping at each other. So, and
it's just so
anyway,
funny that you watched that piece of shit first movie, and then this movie literally has the same problems that the first one has, like times two. But you like love the first movie.
Oh, the first one was different though. It was this had kind of a negative end. It was positive, but it just had a negative feel to it. The first one was very positive. Remember, all their family came to live in the area, and they thought it was a good thing, and they got, they could see them, and it was like a family thing, and they had to fight the community, and the community got on their side. That all changed. It was a more positive, like an overall positive thing. It wasn't just, I guess this was so more focused on within the family, because it was about her.
It was focused on Wednesday. It wasn't really focused
Well, yeah,
on
but within her place within the family, and she did realize she loved her family.
I mean, they're literally they're making a series called Wednesday on Netflix as we speak.
Oh.
Directed, made by Tim Burton.
Is it a live action or an animated?
I think it's going to be. They released a concept poster that was animated, but the point is, like, it seems like everything nowadays has to be about Wednesday, and I wonder why. Because
I don't know.
Safi doesn't think that anything is feminazi, so she doesn't really care, and she thinks that it's kind of stupid to say that, but
no, I just don't like to make people mad, because not everybody is a feminazi. I was in college, and
because
in the 70s, when the women were trying to make a difference and trying to at least make people aware of injustices against them, like in the workplace, when you come in
this movie
on
is
Monday morning Or it's Friday afternoon and the boss comes up and puts his hands on your shoulders and says, "Okay, we have more work to do. Don't leave yet." Or, "Okay, I have my coat on," and putting your hands on my shoulder and saying, "Oh, how are you?" "Well, you have to do this before I even take my coat off." Yes, there were things to complain about, and Marco doesn't have any idea because he's never had to put up with that. Or sitting in the dentist chair, or the optician's chair, the eye doctor, and before he does your eye exam, he puts his hand on your leg, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is really weird, and I don't really care for it." He just has no idea of some of the things that women have had to put up with, or making for somebody doing the same exact job as you, making significant more money than you because they're a man. He just has no idea that stuff can happen, and it's not right. And so we were drawing attention to that. But today, you have these ladies, and they've gone a little overboard to where nobody's gonna listen to them. If you go crazy with any kind of thinking, like some of this overboard political thinking, either right or left, that people just stop paying attention. They just say, "I don't like politics," and they go away and they don't vote or participate. So that's what the feminazi thing has done. It's too much, and they're going overboard. They've fallen off the edge of a cliff, and that's why it irritates Marco, because it's too much.
Well,
they're not taking things into a more stable, middle of the road thing where you get people to compromise and agree and take it and not be so radical about it. And when you do these movies and stories where you just pour it on and you make
like
it
the Addams Family too, right, Safi?
Yeah.
Yeah. She just admitted it.
You drive people away, and they don't even want to listen to you anymore. That's what's going to happen. Well, that is what's happening. They'll stop listening. They'll stop watching your movies. They will stop listening to your music. They will just stop because they don't want to. It isn't what they feel. People are more in the middle about things. They are real excited and they want to do one thing, like for the future, or they want to stick with something from the past because it's been good. So you have to kind of reach a middle about that. And I think a lot more people are willing to do that. But you can't just make it. It has to be this way or no way. It can't be like that ever, unless you're breaking law. Okay, so anyway, that's about a million different things.
Hey, you should have saved those stories for the 9 to 5 movie review that we'll probably never do. Because that would have made more sense if you reviewed that, if you talked about that with 9 to 5.
Okay, well, I don't know. I just, when you're my age and you've had a few jobs and you've lived a few years, you've had experience with things. If you've been out in the world and not sheltered in some specific little small area, I won't even say that could be in the city or that could be in the country.
Well, that's what the Addams Family do. They're sheltered in the middle of nowhere.
Well, yeah, but they like it that way. So anyway,
so you admit that this movie is feminazi, basically. I mean, it doesn't mean...
It is true that why are they doing all the focus on Wednesday?
Well, it was fine with the first one because the first one was a good story idea, but then the second story idea, like...
Well,
ugh.
yeah, and the science thing... People just have no idea. This really does go on, but it's not... I don't know how many children it's infected.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it does happen. I've seen it, and it is a real thing. There are academics out there. They've been out on the field a long time. They have all their credentialing. They have their PhD. They're not getting their grants. They're not getting things published, and they need an infusion. They get a student who's really good, and they think, oh, well, I'll just take their stuff. Or you have a professor who's
And
very respected, has all his research on, and I'll say him because I know of a
mm,
specific example, in their office on the computer, and somebody comes in and steals it all. And they never catch the person. And then they take it and I don't know how you, I guess they publish it and they can't prove anything. And the professor, with all the work that's been done, and this is, I'm talking about for anthropology and another, that's Omaha Steaks. Uh, and another field, I don't even know, a science field. This does happen. I've seen it happen, and but for a little kid, I don't know, but it could happen. But
well, if you
I
want
don't
any,
know.
if you want any indication of what kind of movie this is, there's a I hate to call it a joke, but there's a really cringeworthy joke in the movie where Wednesday jokes about social distancing,
Well, that's
and
just
that was just like the most cringeworthy, like just oh
that just
god,
dates the movie.
you can
And,
tell that a bunch of weirdos wrote this, and they
well,
think that that's funny.
well, it
Like,
wasn't funny. It just dates the movie.
isn't it
and,
fun?
and people know that's the thing that's been done with a lot of stuff.
Isn't it funny how you go to movies to escape reality, and then there's a joke about social
And
distancing?
they didn't even need to do that because there was no social distancing in the movie whatsoever.
Well, the biker wanted to give her a hug, and
Oh,
she could have just made like a joke about pedophiles or something. That would have been a lot funnier. But she
I
had to
don't
make
know.
a. She could have been like, I don't, normally girls my age don't accept hugs from 40-year-old men or something. But then,
That she could have said that would have been a lot funnier.
and then she could have said like, but in this case, I'll give you a hug, and then she could have hugged him and like did something like devious to him, like made him hang from the ceiling or something, like something like that. That would have been a lot funnier, better than a social distancing joke.
Well, whatever. Okay, we better sign off now. And I've already said my like and subscribe, and
Comment.
and well, I did say that about the comment. I'd be interested if any of you've seen the movie and what you thought about it, and if you don't think that they poured on a little bit too much, but that it was almost cringeworthy and nauseating
Yeah,
at the same time.
I would suggest to just go watch Boss Baby 2 and skip this movie, even though Boss Baby 2 is abysmal too. I would say at least that movie's more worthwhile than this one. So, goodbye, everybody!
Bye.